It's playoff time. There's no time to waste today. We're going to break down and predict the NBA play-in that starts tonight. Stay tuned if you want to see who we have being swept by Giannis. And of course, we're going to talk about the star-studded Los Angeles Lakers that's on their quest to LeBron's 5th championship. How will they fare? We'll get into that in just a little bit. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Bakari Steve. How are you feeling on this Tuesday morning?
I feel real good. I'm excited. The play-in starts. That means playoffs is right around the corner, and a lot of exciting matchups and news that we talked about and be seen.
This is your early reminder that if you do enjoy what you're seeing or hearing, go ahead and support us down below. We also are over on TikTok and Instagram, which you see our handles on the screen now. And go ahead and support us over there. We have some exclusive content that we do drop, and, support us. Without further ado, I'm your host, Owen Stiftar. We have some news. We have a list of news to get into. But after that, we'll dive into the play-in. We're going to start here with a Maverick collapse. From 4th place to eliminated from playoff contention in less than 2 months' time. It's a tough time to be a Mavs fan. It started in the offseason when they let Jalen Brunson go, when he turned into basically an all-star. They traded for Kyrie at the all-star break per Luka's request to try and make something happen, try and get them over the hump. That didn't work out the way that they thought. Now Kyrie and Christian Wood, both of their valuable pieces, are most likely going to be gone here in free agency. They've given up all their defense in that trade for Kyrie. Luka's frustrated. He's talked about, there's rumors that he might leave here after this contract. He has 3 years left, I believe, and he said he's just not having fun anymore. There is a report that came out recently that he did say he is happy to be a Maverick, but that's just what your superstar is supposed to say, especially heading into the offseason. If you're Luka Doncic, with everything that's transpired over this last season, with the Jalen Brunson, the Kyrie, the Christian Wood, the Jason Kidd, that's a big one. Would you stick in Dallas, or would you maybe like to go elsewhere? Maybe team up with Jokic, in the crazy, fantasy world?
I mean, obviously, I think the answer would probably be, especially, if all the pieces, Kyrie, Christian Wood leave, the trade, what they saw walk out the door. I would definitely leave if I was Luka. But I'd be, if I left, I'd be feeling guilty. I say that because we all know Kyrie is in Dallas because of Luka. The team that Luka had around him, especially going to the conference finals last year and to start this season off, even though they didn't have Jalen Brunson, they still had Spencer Dinwiddie. They still had Dorian Finney-Smith. They still had a few other pieces around that would at least try. They knew their role. They knew that if they weren't scoring, they can at least go down and act like they can play defense on the other end of the court. And Luka just didn't think that was enough. And, everybody watching knew that wasn't enough. But it was good enough to keep them in that contention, at least to where the Timberwolves are. So when you trade all of that to go get Kyrie, and we know Kyrie doesn't have, the most loyalty ever, and that might be an understatement. And then you see the end result being this. Obviously, not only are you hurting yourself, but you're hurting the whole entire franchise. And then after that, you'd probably be leaving anyway. So
right, and I mean, Luka doesn't strike me as a guy to request a trade, right?
Yeah.
And he's more so of the Dame mold, where I think he's just going to follow in Dirk's footsteps, and he's just going to grind it out in Dallas for years and years. Hopefully, they grab one championship along the way. But anything can happen, especially in this era of player power, empowerment, and player movement. Anything can happen. As of right now, I don't think there is a trade package for Luka Doncic.
No, yeah.
You could say, you could get the same package for Kevin Durant, for a player like Luka. But unlike Kevin Durant, who's towards the tail end of his career, Luka's, we don't know what his potential can be. I mean, he's already almost averaging a 30-point triple-double. I can't even fathom a trade package for Luka. But we'll have to see what happens. Definitely, I agree with you. There should be a sense of guilt there.
Yeah,
over. Go ahead.
No, just to add on, real quick, and the crazy thing is the way Jason Kidd's coaching has been viewed just in the past year has been totally flipped too. Last year he was a head coach. Hey, we took this Dallas Mavericks team and we made them play defense. That's how we got to the conference finals. This year he's not a good coach because he doesn't have any defenders to work with. And do I think Jason Kidd is like the greatest coach ever? No, but I think he's a little bit better than what he's been given. And also Mark Cuban, he is the head honcho there. He does make all the decisions there. When he didn't re-sign Jalen Brunson because he didn't want to pay him that much money, he knew what he was doing. He can't blame that on anybody but himself. Giving up the pieces, he okayed to give up the pieces that they gave up for Kyrie. So there's a lot of, I don't want to say dysfunction, but probably issues that need to be reworked there.
Just to imagine, they could have had Jalen Brunson on a four-year, $57 million deal last trade deadline, but they didn't want to give him even that, right? So, but moving over to the NFL side of things before we bounce back into the NBA, but Odell Beckham, he's one of the biggest dominoes left to fall, and he finally did. He went and he signed a 1-year, $18 million deal with the Baltimore Ravens. He's getting $15 million guaranteed, which is insane. Reportedly, though, he did give the Jets a time to match that deal. The Jets declined in rapid time, too, apparently. But Odell Beckham, the last time we seen him, he was playing okay football for the Los Angeles Rams. He played great in the Super Bowl. Maybe he was on pace to be the Super Bowl MVP. But even that version of Odell wasn't the Odell that I guess everybody grew to love over the years. But, as speaking solely for this move and for the Ravens' sake, we still have no idea what's going to go on with Lamar Jackson. I guess we have a better sense now that he's probably going to stay, as he's been actively recruiting Odell for years. But they brought in a new offensive coordinator, Nelson Aguilar, and now OBJ. If you're Lamar Jackson, is that a good enough pitch to stay around long term?
No, no, I don't think it is. Like you said, last time we saw Odell play, he was playing pretty decent, being second or third fiddle out in Los Angeles before he tore his ACL. And give him credit, like you said, he probably was on his way to win Super Bowl MVP. But even then, you could argue he wasn't worth $15 million guaranteed dollars. Based off of the second half of the season he played that year. And I don't know. He's about 30 years old now.
2 knee injuries.
Two knee surgeries. So you're probably thinking, okay, well, we haven't seen him play, but his shiftiness, his quickness has probably had to decline a little bit. We've all seen the videos. He's put on a little, I guess a good bit of muscle. It's just you don't know what type of Odell you're going to get. Especially because he is older. It's not like he's going to get better and better. He's only going to decline. Good thing it's a 1-year deal, but for $15 million. I feel like you probably could have got a receiver who had more potential and cheaper in the draft. But if I'm Lamar, I'm looking. I'm like, well, the problem hasn't. Or I guess the problem has been his weapons, but the problem has also been his own contract. So if I'm Lamar, I'm not really too.
Yeah, no, I would love to see where Lamar's head's at, because it's like he recruited Odell specifically on a 1-year deal, because he can have his last dance, so to speak, with the Ravens here, and then explore free agency next year with no restrictions. So I don't know. Maybe is this going to be a 1-year thing for Lamar Jackson? Is it going to be, okay, the front office proved to me they're willing to make the signings that I want. Maybe I could stick around long term, but regardless, I do expect them to go and draft another receiver or just weapon here in this upcoming draft, which next Tuesday we'll have the next mock draft here on the channel. But around the NBA, a lot of news here. You know how it works, but I'm just going to run through all of this, the sheet of news, and stop me if you want to talk about something. We're going to start here with one of your favorite players of all time, Paul George. He has no timetable for his return. He is going to be out for at least the start of this first round series against the Phoenix Suns, which is a big one. Might be the toughest there for the Clippers. But Steven Adams, he's going to be out for the playoffs. Going to be huge for the Memphis Grizzlies. Rudy Gobert, he punched his teammate Kyle Anderson on the bench, basically over an argument of production in that game, right? But he was later sent home by the team. He's going to be out for tonight or tomorrow's playing game against the Lakers. So Rudy Gobert, they traded 6 first-round picks for him, and he might not be there in the biggest game of the season. Yeah,
I think, like Draymond said, Rudy's always been a little bit on the softer side, but, it didn't take anybody, a casual could have told you that trading Rudy Gobert for 6 first-round picks and Walker Kessler, Malik Beasley,
right,
and who else did they trade there? Jared Vanderbilt was going to be a bad trade.
That was a big one.
It only worked out decently this season because Cat got hurt, and even since Cat's came back, he's playing a lot better than he was at the beginning of the season. And Rudy Gobert, he's under contract for 3 more years. It's a massive, it's a max contract. He's already 30. His play is just going to decline. It's
a tough situation for the Timberwolves, and Kyle Anderson said it. There's that audio clip that came out that he was like, look, the front office, you guys have a lot of decisions to make, or a big decision to make here in the summer, which I don't know what team is taking on Rudy Gobert and in his production. Maybe a contender that's desperate, that's name chasing, but Rudy Gobert, I mean, they have to ride this out. For what they gave up, they can't give up after one season. But despite all of that, despite the punching of the teammate and sending home one of your best players, they picked up a win, and they moved up to play the Lakers. So, maybe not a good matchup as you're facing the Lakers without one of your best rim protectors. But they have two chances now to win one game to make the playoffs. So, it was a good win for them, but another big blow was Jaden McDaniels. In that same game, he punched the wall, and he fractured his hand. He's going to be out indefinitely, probably for the rest of the season here for the Timberwolves. Jaden McDaniels is one of the best defenders, and that's another big blow, especially playing a team like the Lakers, where maybe you can sneak a win out there. But Kenny Lofton for the Memphis Grizzlies, he was signed for the season after winning the G League MVP, and then he went out for like 40 and 14 or something in his debut. So shout out to Kenny Lofton.
They said it was Zach Randolph's reincarnation. Yeah.
But Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, they made NBA history with the most threes made by a trio in a single season, with that being 779. Klay Thompson's also the third player to ever make 300 threes in a season. So shout out to them boys over there in Golden State. Giannis, he came out in a recent interview. He said that he believes he's been the MVP for the last 5 seasons. Reasonably so, as he's one of the best players in the league, arguably the best.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument for any all-time great as well. You can say Shaq was the MVP. You can say LeBron was probably the MVP from 05, I guess, after the year Kobe won. So, like 08 pretty much to 2016. It's just comes with the territory.
Absolutely. The trio of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul, now on the Phoenix Suns, they have played as many games since the trade deadline together than the trio of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden did for the entirety of the 2020-2021 season. KD, he's also going to be the first player in NBA history to finish a season with the 55, 40, and 90 shooting splits, which is kind of insane. I thought somebody maybe would have had that, maybe Steph Curry. But when you're 7 foot and you're shooting 55% from the field, 40 from 3, and 90 from the free throw line, Kevin Durant's one of a kind.
Yeah.
All of the California-based NBA teams, so the Kings, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Warriors, they all finished above 500 for the first time in NBA history, which is insane. The Lakers, speaking of them, they signed Tristan Thompson and Shaq Harrison for some playoff depth. Tristan Thompson wasn't joking. Get the gang back together.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know. I haven't seen a workout video or anything. And last time I checked, Tristan Thompson was on ESPN last week. So, I mean, obviously these guys aren't going to play, but signing them to the roster is kind of crazy.
I'm more excited for Shaq Harrison. He's at least going to bring some defense there and not just clog up the paint like Tristan Thompson. Dwayne Casey, he actually stepped down as the Pistons head coach, and he will now pursue a front office position. I'm not sure if that's with the Pistons or another team, but shout out to Dwayne Casey as he was there all those years in Toronto, getting swept by LeBron. Damian Lillard, he came out in a recent interview after the season ended there in Portland, and he said he's not interested in waiting for guys to develop 2 to 3 years down the line. He's not interested in a rebuild for this Trailblazers team, as I guess it's counterintuitive because it's like Damian Lillard doesn't want to leave Portland, but he doesn't want to rebuild.
Yeah.
So he's kind of forcing the hand of Portland to be mediocre.
Yeah, he's doing exactly what you just said. He's forcing their hand to, it's like, okay, so what can we do to not completely rebuild, but to have enough decent pieces around to stay relevant? I
think we saw their ceiling this year.
Yeah, I mean, Dame also signs, like, he'll get to his contract year, won't test out free agency, will immediately sign that 3-year max deal to make him highest paid NBA player every single time it comes up, instead of leaving to go, like Dame, you don't even have to go to New York or Los Angeles. You could just go to somewhere you think is going to be competitive. When they add you to the roster, he won't do that. It's kind of like Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal just said he wasn't satisfied with how the team played and all of that, but then it's like, well, Bradley, you keep signing max extensions, so
right. I mean, these guys just want the money at the end of the day. And now I think Dame has put himself in a position where after that interview with, I'm not sure who, but where he said that you don't let me win a ring in Portland if I could talk, right? So now he's like, if he does request a trade or sign somewhere else or sign elsewhere here in the near future, it's I think NBA media, apparently I can't talk, is going to hate him now. He's going to be in a bad light after saying for years and years, I'm not leaving Portland. And then he leaves, right? But moving on here, all three Texas-based NBA teams, so you have the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Dallas Mavericks, they all missed the playoffs for the first time since 1980 and 1981 season, which was the Mavericks' first NBA season. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But this is probably the most interesting stat you'll hear all day. Of the total 1,626 teams in NBA history, only 6 of them have ever finished above 500 after a 2-10 or worse start. The Lakers will have joined the only 0.3% of teams to ever accomplish that. If they do take care of business here and they make the playoffs, we'll have to get into that later if we have them winning against the Timberwolves. Udonis Haslem, the player coach for the last 5 seasons, he played his last regular season game, probably the last game of his career, right? We're not counting the 30 seconds he'll get against Boston there in game 4. But he had 24 points. He made 3 threes, which was the craziest part to me. And there was that interesting stat that said that this season, Udonis Haslem scored more points in a single game than Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
And he played like 40-something less games. Shout out Ben Simmons, I guess. Joel Embiid, he solidified the scoring title. It's the first in his career. He notched out Luka Doncic by, I believe, 20 points or so. And shout out to Joel Embiid. He's making a strong case for the MVP. Maybe he has it locked up so far.
He's in the territory of where do you start to rank him in centers of all time? Just like him and Jokic, they keep doing like this for at least 4 to 5 more years. They're in all-time territory.
Absolutely. And Boogie, put down the mic, man. Not everybody needs to be talking on a podcast. You are not the 3rd best center in the league, right? Maybe if you get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. But Trae Young, there was rumors that came out that he may be moved this offseason. The ownership of the Atlanta Hawks, they gave the front office the green light for whatever the front office wants to do with the roster that they feel can compete for a title. So if that means trading Trae Young or DeJounte or whoever, the front office is able to do that. That's just interesting. Trae Young, I don't know who would want him.
Yeah, exactly. I think Trae Young's perfect scenario is in Atlanta, and the thing is, he's just not a player that you can play winning basketball with. At least being you have no choice but to make him a 1 or 2 option on offense because it's not like he's a 2-way player. He's a good playmaker, but he has a high turnover rate. He shoots very low percentage from the field for the type of shots he shoots. So it just kind of leaves you wondering who wants an undersized point guard who shoots bad percentage shots and doesn't play defense, but he doesn't really force winning basketball.
Right. So, no defense is being played, but he still can get you 30 and 15 on any given night.
21 points from the free throw line. Yeah.
Right. Don't get any ideas, Cleveland. That might be the end of my Cleveland fanship if Trae Young's here for Darius Garland.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget the 7 turnovers he'll have with 15 assists.
Right. I'll take Darius Garland struggling on both sides of the ball over a good Trae Young.
Yeah.
But moving over, how this works. For the NBA followers, if you keep up with the NBA, you understand how this works. And there's a graphic on the screen, so if you don't even follow basketball, you could pick it up pretty easily here. But the play-in tournament, it was implemented, I want to say, 3 to 4 years ago by the NBA. Maybe in the 2020 season? It was the bubble season?
Yeah, it was the bubble season.
Regardless here, the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds in each conference have both qualified for the play-in tournament. So basically, either of these 4 teams can make the playoffs, but 2 of these teams will miss the playoffs. So we're going to start here with the 7 and 8 seed. This is one of the most important games here in the play-in because both of these teams are capable of losing 1 game before missing the playoffs. So the 7 and 8 seed will play. For example, the Lakers and the Timberwolves in the Western Conference. Whoever wins that game will go to the 7 seed in the West. They will play the Memphis Grizzlies. The loser of that game will play the winner of a game that takes place between the 9 and 10 seed in that same conference. The winner of that game eventually will play as the number 8 seed against the Denver Nuggets. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a graphic if you want to follow along, but basically that's why these 7 and 8 seed are the most valuable positions in the play-in tournament because you can afford a loss. But yeah, it starts tonight at 7:30. Again, I believe it's the Hawks and Bulls.
I think so.
Or one of those games. It was one of those games. Yeah. Regardless here, we're going to start in the Western Conference. The Los Angeles Lakers at the number 7 seed. They're hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Is it at a neutral site?
No, it's at the 7 seeds place. It's at the higher seeds.
I believe. Yeah. Okay. Right. The Lakers, number 7 seed, they're hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Go and kick us off. I believe, we both have the same projection here, but why do you have the Lakers over a injured and starless Timberwolves team?
Yeah, I just unless Anthony Edwards goes off for 69 points and is Jesus playing basketball, like Jeffrey Jordan was against Larry Bird, the Timberwolves have zero chance. LeBron and AD alone are just too much for them to overcome, especially with Rudy Gobert out. Karl Anthony Towns is going to be barbecue chicken for Anthony Davis. The Timberwolves don't really have any perimeter defenders now that Jaden McDaniels is hurt to guard LeBron. Then the Lakers also have better role pieces now. D'Angelo Russell might step up and get you about 20 and 5. Same thing with Austin Reeves. The Lakers just have too much on both offense and defense, and they play a more physical style than the Timberwolves do when they don't have their interior presence in Rudy Gobert. I'd say all signs really point to a blowout for the Lakers here.
Yeah, I mean, when AD was traded to the Lakers, the blueprint was out there. Okay, you're going to need some big wing defenders that can guard both of these guys. You're going to need a dominant rim protecting big as well as some wings out there to switch it in, mix it in, have LeBron guarded by 3 or 4 guys, Anthony Davis mix in 2 or 3 bigs. You're going to need some size to beat this Lakers team. And now that this Timberwolves team has lost arguably the best rim protector in the league in Rudy Gobert for the game, right? And then they lost Jaden McDaniels, who is their best wing defender. Arguably he could be all NBA defense. I don't see who's really going to step up. Are they going to have Kyle Anderson with the LeBron assignment? Which, look, Kyle Anderson is a good defender in his own right, but he is not capable of even minimizing what LeBron can do on a basketball court. They're definitely going to have to play
maybe a Taurean Prince, Kyle Anderson double team every time he touches it in the post.
That might have to make the Timberwolves strategy might be let Anthony Edwards do what he does on offensively and have D'Angelo Russell beat us.
Yeah.
Have Malik Beasley beat us. Don't let these 2 stars do what they do. And I don't know. I think unless a miracle happens, like you said, unless it's a 60, 70 point performance from Ant, this Lakers, it's going to be a pretty easy win as LeBron might be one of his last years to go out there and compete for a ring. Moving over to the 9-10 matchup in the West. As the Timberwolves are now in that game that we'll talk about next, but the 9 and 10 matchup, it's the 9 seed New Orleans Pelicans who fell to this spot after losing to the Timberwolves. Yeah. They're facing a young and upcoming Oklahoma City Thunder team. This Thunder team, I believe, has an average age of 23 and a half. They are the youngest team in basketball by far. One of the most exciting teams, have a rising star. And I took them in this matchup solely because, Zion is out for this New Orleans Pelicans team. They will be solely relying on CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and the great role players that they have like last season as they made the 8th seed. But I still went with the Thunder, and this is probably, all signs probably point to the Pelicans having more experience. They're a more complete team. They can pull this out because they've been there before, right? But I'm just rooting for the Thunder. Being the youngest team in the league, having a rising star in Shea, and some great complementary pieces, I'm just rooting for the Thunder here. Young and fun team.
Yeah, I have the Thunder winning. Like you said, the Pelicans were here last year, but even with Zion being out indefinitely now, like they don't. He probably, even if the Pelicans do make the playoffs, he's not going to come back. This Pelicans team without Zion this year has looked worse than they did last year. I know they started off terrible and they did actually have a worse record last year than they did this year, but I don't think much was expected out of them last year, and that's why they were able to sneak into the playoffs and give the Suns a run for their money and taking them to 6 in the first round. This year, at times, CJ McCollum has looked terrible. Brandon Ingram has looked really bad in some games. He's actually picked it up a lot better in these past few games, but his production has been higher, and his team has been struggling even more. This Thunder team is going to go out there. They're going to give it everything they got. Shea, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, all these guys. They've been underdogs the entire season. I believe Shea is going to be the best player in this game over Brandon Ingram, over CJ McCollum. And I think he'll be able to power his team to a win over this Zionless Pelicans team.
A lot of the media and a lot of fans have finally realized the player that Shea is this season. But I think, this being on national TV, they're finally going to get the full glimpse of the player that Shea is, the star that he could be one day, superstar we're talking. But I'm I'm rooting for this Thunder team. I have no really connection to them. And to be honest, I like CJ McCollum. I like Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones. I just don't see any Jose Alvarado GTA steals here as he sneaks up behind Shea. But
yeah, the Thunder already ruined the Lakers LeBron's game when he became the number one scorer in league history. So I think the play-in past Pelicans should be a rollover.
The biggest story from that game was why was AD sitting down. No, I'm just joking. But we're moving over here as both of us had the Thunder winning in the 9-10 matchup and the Timberwolves losing. That would set up a Timberwolves as the 8 seed versus the Thunder at the 10 seed. Winner of this would get the 8 seed and have the honor to play the possible 3 straight MVP in Nikola Jokic. You have the Timberwolves here. I have the Thunder. Same thing here. It's just, even if Rudy Gobert does come back, we've seen Rudy Gobert get exposed time in and time out in the playoffs. He cannot play playoff basketball. And with a team like the Thunder, who has a lot of guys that can create their own shot, and Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous, they're gonna pick on Rudy Gobert the entire game. Jaden McDaniels is out, so they're not going to have those wing defenders to guard Shai and these young explosive guys that the Thunder do have. And it's just another thing that I'm rooting for the younger team. They're an exciting team. I'm not expecting them to win even half of basketball in the playoffs. But as far as the play-in, I would love to see them pull this one out.
So pretty much for me, the reason I picked the Timberwolves is just like the Pelicans. The Timberwolves do have that experience from last year. Like I said, if this was the same Timberwolves from the team from the beginning of the season, I would have the Thunder winning this. But like I said, since Karl-Anthony Towns has come back, he has looked rejuvenated. Looks like he's had a chip on his shoulder. He's probably heard all the talk like saying him and Rudy Gobert can't play together. When in all honesty, it's just Rudy Gobert can't play. Anthony Edwards has been, fantastic to finish out the season, all-star for a reason. And I think Rudy Gobert coming back is going to have some presence in the paint. Like I said, he won't, once he gets on the perimeter, it's barbecue chicken. He won't be able to do anything. But if they can find a way to keep him in the paint and rotate over to his, I'm sure the Thunder are going to do what every team does and play 5 out versus them. But if they can have somebody that's going to rotate freely on that perimeter and help Rudy Gobert just kind of stay in the paint and anchor that defense down, they'll have a clear advantage on the boards. The Thunder don't have anybody that size like Karl-Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert. And I think, the Timberwolves should be able to pull that out.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of great points. I think everything points to the Timberwolves winning this. Like you talked about that rover, that freelance defender, that was Jaden McDaniels, and they lost him. But, they have too much size. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl is not Rudy Gobert. And as much as we like to clown on Rudy Gobert, he's going to be better than a secondary big, right, in Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. And at the same time, they can play 5 out, but it's not like the Thunder's team is a knockdown shooting team. It's Isaiah Joe's what's probably their best shooter, aside from Shea. So I don't know. All the signs point to Minnesota. Gut tells me to go with the Thunder. We split there as we move over to the Eastern Conference. Playoff Jimmy as the number 7 seed. They're going to be hosting the number 8 seed Atlanta Hawks. As we both have the same answer here. No surprise, but I'm going with the Miami Heat. I've said it plenty of times throughout the season. They have the worst 4 through 15 throughout any team in the entire NBA. That's including the Spurs, the Rockets. They have the worst 4 through 15. It's really just Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero. All 3 of those guys average 20 plus, and they're still the 7 seed. That tells you how bad their depth is. But good thing for them in the playoffs, your rotation shrinks. And Jimmy I don't know what it is. He just channels his inner, whatever it is. Maybe his dad is Michael Jordan, as the theories would say, right? But Jimmy Butler, he just turns a switch on when it comes to playoffs. They coast all year for this point. And last year, they were a shot away from going to the NBA Finals. So this team, we know what they can do when they're healthy and they're ready for the playoffs, when they can solely lock in on a team. And Trae Young hasn't been the greatest playoff performer besides one series. So give me the Heat here. They have more experience, they're older, and they're going to get it done against Trae Young, the lollipop.
Yeah, I took the Heat. Everything you just said is pretty much my reasoning. Even though this Heat team probably doesn't have the depth that they've had the past few seasons or the talent they've had the past few seasons to make a deep playoff run, this plan should be an easy piece of cake, especially for the Hawks team that they annihilated in the playoffs last year with pretty much the same team. A few guys gone, but they just have too many defenders like to guard Trae. Gabe Vincent did a really good job last year when Jimmy switches on him, Bam switches on him. Even Tyler Hero can switch on Trae Young just because he's smaller. They might have trouble, letting DeJounte Murray get a few open shots just because their focus is going to be on Trae Young. But unless DeJounte Murray drops like 45 points, I don't think John Collins will step up to the occasion. Clint Capella didn't. I don't think he'll step up to the occasion. Bam should be able to keep him. He might be on the rebounds, but I think that this Miami Heat defense is going to be smothering for this Atlanta Hawk offense that still hasn't found an identity of what they want to run and who they want to play through.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn Snyder is their coach. I guess he has a lot of playoff experience. Maybe that plays a part, but even then, he doesn't have more experience than Eric Spoelstra, who's one of the best coaches in the NBA, arguably the best. This Heat team should be able to take care of business here at home as they will be playing the Celtics, setting up a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals last season.
Set them up with broomstick, too.
Maybe. I think playoff Jimmy might
he might get
turn it
one
up.
or two, yeah.
Right. But the 9 and 10 seed, they're going up here as the winner of this will face the Atlanta Hawks in this hypothetical scenario. But the Toronto Raptors at the 9 seed are facing the Chicago Bulls at the 10 seed. And this one's very interesting. I mean, the Bulls in a one-game scenario, I looked at it and I'm like, they have DeMar DeRozan, they have Zach LaVine, arguably the best two players in the series, at least offensively. But to me, for the Raptors team, I know Fred VanVleet has had the worst season in his career by far.
I think he's a bottom 5% shooter.
Yes, I was just, I mean, aside from Killian Hayes, this guy, he's had a down season shooting the ball compared to anybody else in the league. But Fred VanVleet, in the playoffs, he has turned it up. He has turned his play up throughout his whole career in the playoffs. So maybe we get even just a glimpse of that here in the play-in. But they have Pascal. He was arguably an All-NBA talent. You have OG, who every team in the league wants. He's one of those guys that can guard 1 through 4. You have Chris Boucher. This team just has a lot of just tall and lengthy wings that can guard anybody. So you can give DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine tons of looks. DeMar loves to work in the mid-range area. You can always shade over a big and just make it crowded for DeMar DeRozan. Not that has ever stopped DeMar from getting to where he wants and putting up the shots he wants. But this team can just make it very difficult on the stars of the Chicago Bulls. And I mean, if I'm the Raptors, let Patrick Beverley shoot the ball, right? But I don't know. It's definitely going to set up an interesting matchup. I have the Raptors edging it out here.
Yeah, I took the Bulls here. Pretty much, I just thought that Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan were going to be too much for an inconsistent Raptors offense to handle. I think that even if DeRozan and LaVine struggle shooting the ball, the Bulls still do have Kobe White. Alex Caruso can get you a few shots. Nikola Vucevic has been off and on, but pretty much on to finish out this season. And they have some solid other bench pieces as well that I think will be able to get them a few buckets to keep them over the edge. And that's only if DeRozan and LaVine struggle. They also have defenders in Kobe White. I'm sorry, not Kobe White. Alex Caruso and Pat Bev to go down on the other end and at least lock up the guards' play style. If you can at least keep Fred VanVleet out the box score or box off or whatever you want to call it. I think the Bulls should be able to have a chance to win this game. Pascal, he's been good this season. He's been a little inconsistent. Same thing, Scotty Barnes has been very inconsistent. I think if you can just get those guys to struggle early on, make it a early first quarter lead, I don't think this Raptors offense has enough to come back into the game.
Moving over to the last game for the both of us. This is the game to see who has the honor to get swept by Giannis in the first round. But your matchup, you have the 8 seed Atlanta Hawks, if I can talk, playing the Chicago Bulls, who are trying to make it in as one of the first 10 seeds, I think, here in the existence of the play-in. But I have the 8 seed Atlanta Hawks versus the 9 seed Toronto Raptors. I'll just kick it off here. Like I said, this Toronto Raptors team has tons and tons of wings that they can throw at everybody, right? But the only reason I went with the Hawks here, and let's get this out the way, if I had to say that I don't like this player more than anybody else in the league, that's Trae Young. I don't like his play style. I don't like how he just shot chucks. I don't like him on and off the court. It sounds like a personal attack, right? But it's just Trae Young. It's just something about him bothers me.
No, it's just like me and the Houston Rockets, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just Trae Young is just not fun for me to watch. But at the same time, I do acknowledge how great he can be on a night-in, night-out basis. Like I mentioned earlier, he's capable of putting up those 30 and 15 games. And I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to a one-game scenario for this Hawks and Raptors team, I'm going to go with the explosiveness of the Atlanta Hawks. They not that John Collins is a lockdown defender, but they do have the bigs to, I guess, protect the rim against a team like the Raptors that love to attack the rim with all of those wings. And Trae Young and DeJounte, I mean, both of those guys can go for 30 on the same night and edge out a close win here against the Raptors. So even though I don't like the Hawks at all, maybe it's just their star, but give me the Hawks here over the Raptors to get swept by Giannis.
Yeah, and I have the Bulls beating the Hawks. I took the Bulls because they have two individual defenders that can guard the two best players on the Atlanta Hawks. And that, like I said, that being Patrick Beverley. He can totally disrupt anybody. I think he'll do a terrific job, especially on Trae Young. And Alex Caruso, since he's a bigger guard, 6'6", about 200 pounds, he can go out and he can sit down on a DeJounte Murray and kind of just disrupt his whole flow. And since the Hawks got rid of Danilo Gallinari and Kevin Huerter, didn't bring those guys back, and those were their best three-point shooters. They don't have that three-point shooting threat. DeAndre Hunter comes and goes, but when he's off bad. They don't have that same three-point threat, and you could also see that reflective in Trae's shooting this year too. Since they don't have anybody to space the floor, he takes a lot more onto himself. With that being said, the Hawks definitely don't have the defenders to guard Levine and DeRozan.
Yeah.
At least on the wings, Clint Capella could probably guard Nikola Vucevic, but I just think the onslaught of defense from perimeter that the Bulls have and their wing play would be enough to overthrow the Atlanta Hawks and slip in there as the 8th seed and get swept by the Bucks again.
Vucevic has actually been sneakily good here in the second half of the season, but again, I'm not expecting him to just flip on a magical switch here and maybe be an Orlando Magic version, but he's definitely been very underrated second half of the season.
16 and 10, I think, is what he is averaging.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, back to, I guess, what they traded for.
Yeah.
But just to recap here, to face, in the Western Conference, we both had the Lakers facing the Memphis Grizzlies as the number 7 seed, and for the 8th seed to face the Denver Nuggets, I had the Thunder edging out the rest of the competition, and you had the Timberwolves. So you had the Timberwolves and Nuggets, Lakers and Grizzlies. I had the Lakers, Grizzlies, Thunder, and Nuggets. Moving over to the East, we both had the Heat going up against Boston there to set up a rematch of last season. You had the Bulls sneaking out and playing the Bucks first round, which they've said that they've wanted that matchup. Apparently, they have posters all around of last season. I don't know if what you want to do is play the best player in the league, but I also have the Hawks. Regrettably enough, but I have the Hawks going up against the Bucks there, and that's gonna do it for today's show.
Hawks are going to be out after one game. They're going to play one game in Milwaukee and be like, you know what? We don't want to make the playoffs anymore.
I could see the Hawks just struggling like they did last year. I mean, if they can't beat the 3-man team of the Heat that they had last season, they need something from God. They need to go to church to prepare for Giannis, right? But that's going to do it for today's show. It's a shorter show today, but we got through what we needed to get through. And Thursday, very exciting show. Why don't you give them a preview of what's to come?
Yeah, so pretty much just like this, we're going to give our first round predictions. It's going to be exciting. We'll have the play-in results out the way. We won't have to speculate about what team gets swept by who. But there are a lot of exciting matchups to look forward to, especially like that Clippers-Phoenix matchup. Since we're Cavs fans, the Cavs-Knicks matchup. The Knicks fans have been talking a lot. It's just going to be an exciting show Thursday. Yeah,
exciting show Thursday because, like you said, we are Cavs fans. It's the first time in a while that we haven't had LeBron, and we've actually had a competent team here in the playoffs. Maybe we can make some noise, but we did rebrand a little bit. We did change the logo of the channel. Let us know what you guys think about that down below. And next Tuesday, I just want to say that we do have another mock draft coming to the channel. It's going to be a lot more organized here than we did last time. As the last time we did it like basically in 5 minutes, with extensive research behind it. But I mean, the drafting process we did in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So a lot more detail to come there. But until Thursday, stay happy, stay healthy. Let us know what you guys think down below. Who's winning in your guys' play-in, and until Thursday, when we come back here and have the Cavs sweep everybody. Stay happy, stay healthy. We're out.